Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Right. See everybody starting to come in. It's our weekly Teach Me date. I've been loving our weekly Teach Me date. All right, if you are just coming in and joining us, if you see the chat option on your screen, why don't you pop into the chat box and tell us who you are and where you are joining us from. And a quick tip, if you are moving into the chat, is make sure that when you are sending a message, you are sending a note to all panelists and attendees, so other attendees on the webinar can also see your messages. If you send it to all panelists, it's just going to be me and my fellow panelists here who are seeing your messages. But if you send it to all panelists and attendees, everyone can see it. Oh, here they come, Jackie. Lots of messages coming in about where people are joining us. So good to see everyone joining. Here in Chicago, we're joining you on a really sunny and beautiful day. It just suddenly turned into summer here. It felt like last week it was kind of mild, and now it is hot and steamy. Ooh, so
yeah,
it is summer, which is a perfect way to segue into our topic for today. Thank you for joining us for our Teach Me webinar on getting bookings now. Talking about how to get bookings right before we kick off this summer season is such an important topic, and we're so happy to be joining you today. Before we do introductions, and as we sort of allow a few more people to join us, I am going to cover a couple housekeeping items on how to communicate with us today during the webinar. So those of you who are joining, if you're familiar with Zoom, you'll know that there are two options for how to communicate with us today. So the first is the chat function, which obviously so many of you have already found. So I see that you're chatting with us now, and again, share with all panelists and attendees. Chat is great when you want to share ideas and thoughts with the entire group. Even if you want to share some ideas with others, we may ask for some of your ideas during our webinar today. The other function that you'll see is called the Q&A. And Kylie, if you want to move us to the next slide, we can kind of show them where the Q&A function is. Kylie will get us, there we go.
Yeah.
So chat. Thanks, Kylie. The Q&A, use the Q&A to ask questions about some of the specific topics that we're going to be covering today, right? Q&A is where you can direct questions right to our panelists, and they can try to answer those as best they can during our webinar today. The one thing that I want to ask of everyone is that you should try to direct your questions to the topic that we have today, which is about webinars and about how to book a really strong summer. Our panelists won't be able to answer probably every question you have about the business, but we do have past Teach Me webinars that might be good for some of those topics that you can easily find in the STIR. So definitely send questions into the chat throughout our webinar today as they come up as we're talking about bookings. So I want to do some quick introductions. If you've been joining us for Teach Me webinars lately, you might see some familiar faces today. I'm Libby Hoppy. I am the Director of Field Success and International Expansion here at Pampered Chef's home office. Joining me today for our webinar as one of our key hosts is Jackie Blust. You may have, when you signed up to attend this webinar, you may have seen that one of the panelists was Steve Drapolsky. Steve, one of our National Executive Directors, is actually not able to join us live during our webinar today, but we do have a lot of ideas and content that we got from Steve that we'll be sharing throughout the webinar today. But Jackie is going to be joining me as my co-host for the day. So Jackie, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jackie Blust, and I am your Field Success Manager. And I have been with Pampered Chef, if you can believe it now, about 16 years. So really excited to be here with Libby and Kylie and Danny, who are also helping us with the Q&A today to really help you have a great, strong summer.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Jackie mentioned our other panelists today, Kylie Wilcher and Danny Hubner. We are members of our field success team here at Pampered Chef, and our focus really is supporting all of you. You probably, if you've been joining us the last few weeks, at the start of the COVID situation where we really didn't know what was going to be happening in the business, we moved these Teach Me webinars to be weekly. And I think we've joined most of you each week as we've kind of been navigating how our business is shifting and changing in the current environment. And we're going to continue to do that today. Our goal as a field success team, just broadly, is to make sure that you have the resources, the ideas, and the tools to be successful. And so we're really going to focus in on how to be successful and book a really strong summer. So with that, I want to go through our agenda for today so you know what we're going to be covering. It is the end of May, and I think what's interesting now is we actually hosted a similar webinar to this in April, where one of the big concerns was, how are we going to be able to book parties in the midst of the COVID situation? And so while some of the content is similar, we actually are in a different place. Demand is higher than we've seen it in a long time. Which is great, right? Our products are relevant. The services and the information and inspiration that you're providing to customers is more relevant than ever. But we will be talking then a little bit about the uniqueness of booking right now, right? And I know, Jackie, you've been talking with a lot of leaders in the field, and you've got some ideas on why it's important to be thinking about bookings and thinking about this particular part of your business right now.
Yep, absolutely. So I think, you know, the most important thing is, as we're going through everything we're going to share today, it's so important that you just really have this positive mindset. I think that's the one thing that we have learned from the leaders that we have chatted with. And I know if Steve was here, this is exactly what he would share as well. So if you have this like positive outlook, that is really going to radiate down to your customers, your hosts, and your team. So we're going to give you a lot of information today. So keep your mind open to the possibilities and see what you can implement in your business.
That's great, Jackie. And as a quick reminder, we're going to be talking about the importance of bookings right now, why it's important to get that summer schedule booked. We're also going to be talking about, for some of you who might be new, if you're new, would love to see you raise your hands if you're a newer consultant to the business. We're actually going to spend a little bit of time about getting your first bookings. We often see new consultants on these webinars, so we love having you here. We're also going to be talking about how to get bookings from bookings. So that idea that for every party that you host, that idea that you should be getting more parties from that party is a very real thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to talk about how to get bookings outside of a party, and then the types of parties to book right now. Jackie's going to share a lot of great ideas, a lot of things that we had discussed with Steve as well that's working for him and his team, and then some final tips on bookings and how to be running your business right now. So we're going to go ahead, jump in to the importance of bookings right now, just to kind of set the stage for, you know, it might be important anytime to get bookings, but why specifically is right now into May as we dive into this new summer such a good time. And what I like to generally start with is that if you're a new consultant or you've been a consultant for some time and you haven't started exploring our training that's available in Dash, start there. That's what I always like to say. Dash is probably the key place where we kind of focus the majority of our education, our training. Most of what we talk about during our webinars is pulled from Dash, from different areas within Dash. So we are just reinforcing what a lot of the training is in Dash. So a good place to start within Dash is party training, right? And I already saw Kylie in the chat sharing, hey, if you're new to virtual parties and you're just getting started, these two areas of Dash, the getting started section and party training, are really helpful. One other thing I wanted to just bring up on the call before we jump into the content today is that when you get into the Getting Started program, as well as the party training program, you do see training for both virtual and in-person parties. And what I want to say is today we're overwhelmingly a virtual business, and the majority, vast majority of our sales right now are through virtual parties. And we think this is really wonderful. And as we look ahead to the summer, not, every region in North America will probably be easing their social distancing regulations at different speeds. And so our recommendation right now, as it relates to in-person versus virtual parties, is that our top priority is keeping you, your customers, and your communities healthy and safe. So you can follow local regulations and make the best decision for your business. But as a home office team and as a Teach Me team today, we are really going to be talking mostly about virtual parties and how to have a really successful virtual business at this time. So just wanted to set the stage for what we're going to be talking about. All right, so let's jump right into the importance of booking parties right now. Why is it important to book parties at this current state and time? Well, the first reason is the reason you should be booking parties anytime, and that bookings are the lifeline of your business. We're going to talk about this later. 80% of new bookings, new parties, new customers, new ways to reach people actually come from existing bookings. So if you get one, it helps to build the potential for more parties and more parties. We have done a few Teach Me webinars on what we call the 4-in-1 model, which is that for every 4 parties you book, you can be adding 1 person to your team. And that idea of a foundational business where you should be regularly booking parties is part of what makes Pampered Chef work, right? Another thing to always think about is then that if I have a strong week this week, I could have a strong week next week. I saw somebody who was new to Pampered Chef in the chat say, I just had my launch party today and I already got 2 bookings, or I'm having my launch party now and I have 2 bookings from that party already. That's great. That's exactly what we want to see, because what we often hear from people in the field, Jackie, is that a strong June leads to a strong July, right?
Absolutely. And as you all know, cooking from home is not going away, right? So customers are looking for ways to get tools in their kitchens. And right now we're offering such a unique shopping experience for our customers. So I'd like to think that Pampered Chef was ahead of the curve when it comes to that virtual experience, that we were already prepared to be able to serve our customers in the best way. So by continuing to do your parties today, you're going to have parties in future months. So I'm going to think about it this way. A strong summer leads to a strong fall. So it's important that you stay in front of your customers' minds, right? You want to be their solution for their cooking needs, not just now, but for a long time to come.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Jackie. And there's some uniqueness about this time period, obviously, where you may always get objections to bookings, but June is a really, really popular month to reach out to get bookings. At any given time here at Pampered Chef, we have different promotions that are great reasons to reach out to past customers, past hosts even, and just generally get a sense if someone's interested in partying with you. And so in June, you've got the tools you need. All right. So the first is what the June host special is, which is double rewards. Year in and year out, double rewards is one of our strongest host offers. So hosts get twice as much to spend on products when their sales in the party hit $650 or more in the US, or $750 or more in Canada. And they are also, this month, there are 4 exclusive host sets that are also available only to hosts. Double rewards is one of the best things you could do to reach out, because basically, if a party reaches $650 or above, your hosts are getting potentially double the value, right, than they would have in another month. Also, for you as a consultant, this is a great month to be working because you're earning fall products now. So the fall free-for-all is going through, it started in May and continues into June. So that idea that you can earn all of the new season products in the fall for free is right in front of you. So it's also a really good time for you as a consultant to be working your business and trying to get these bookings right now. So a couple other things I want to talk about on all the reasons why June is a great time to party is that in addition to the double rewards, is just that our regular host rewards offers are so strong. We always say it here at Pampered Chef. You've heard me say it on these Teach Me webinars. If you've attended any of these in the past, is that at Pampered Chef, hosts never pay full price, right? We believe in spoiling our hosts with a generous host reward system where depending on what the party sales are, the host is able to take advantage of a number of different rewards. And so, of course, the free credits in June, that double at $6.50 and above is really special, but at any given time, host rewards are a great reason to reach out to people. Maybe you have some people who are saying, I just don't know if it's a good time, given uncertainty around income and some of those other things, but truly there's not a better time to get more for your money than the month of June at Pampered Chef as a host. Also, we talked about this, the host offer. In any given month, we also have a host offer. So on top of our host reward system, there is that special host offer, which this month is 60% off featured sets. And that includes our cast iron skillets, which, by the way, raise your hand if you think the cast iron skillets have been a great addition to the product line. Yes, we agree too. We're definitely seeing interest from both our consultants and our customers on these cast iron skillets. So there's also the 60% off sets exclusive for June hosts. Jackie, a couple other reasons to party in June. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing too is we have some new party ideas for you, and we're going to share a little bit more. But, you know, some of the things that we've been talking about in our past Teach Me webinars is the importance that you're sharing party content that's relevant for right now. So we have some fresh new content that you can share for your summer virtual parties, and we're going to get into that in a little bit later. And then as a reminder, I know we have spoken about this in past webinars as well, but fundraisers are still really important to offer right now. And it's a great way to connect with your host to either support an organization of their choice or to support Feeding America, Food Banks Canada, and Hope Lodge parties. So again, party sales for our charitable programs from Pampered Chef, we are continuing to extend the donation increases. And so that is through June 30th for Hope Lodge and July 31st for our Round It from the Heart program.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. And one quick other thing that I want to mention about the host offer, I brought up cast iron. Starting June 1st as well, guests will be able to purchase those cute little mini cast iron skillets. So that starts June 1st. I know some of you were saying you're getting those and you're starting to play with those. So that's part of that set that we are offering exclusively for hosts. So that's a fun new addition to the product line for the summer. So love to see the ideas about why June is a good time to book. If you have ideas that you want to share with others, go ahead and share those in the chat. Why else do you think June is a great time to book? If you want to share that, I'll move on to our next topic, but I always love to see the idea sharing on these webinars. All right, so we are going to spend a little bit of time now on getting your first bookings. And so for anyone who's a newer consultant and is just starting out, and I've seen a few people already talking about that in the chat, we're going to spend just a little bit of time talking about the foundations of how to get those first bookings, right? And then we'll move into getting bookings from bookings and so on. But if you're new, one of the first places that you can start is your launch list. Now, again, if you go back to Dash in our Getting Started program, there's going to be a lot of information about how you build a launch list, okay? So a launch list is essentially putting down all the names of people who you think might appreciate Pampered Chef right now, right? Pampered Chef products. And or someone who might appreciate Pampered Chef products with double free product value at that $650 level. If you know people who are home, who are cooking a lot, who really are looking for ideas and recipes and, you know, are the types of people who are saying like, I'm burnt out, I've been cooking at home for a while, I need ideas. I would love, you know, to share some ideas with others. Write those people's names down. You know, it's funny, just last week I had a couple of my girlfriends and I were just on a text chain, and it was, gosh, like, does anybody have more ideas for recipes this week? And right there, like, if I were like looking for potential people for a party, it's like, that's it, right? People are looking for ideas that they can be doing in their kitchen right now. So building a launch list, thinking through friends, family, neighbors, social media friends, right? That's a great place to start. So you build that launch list and build interest, right? You build interest overall in what you have to offer. And that's a quick way to start identifying those potential hosts. That launch list is great for potential hosts. And then you just start having conversations about, you know, I am a Pampered Chef consultant. I've got some great ideas. Would you like to get together with a few friends of yours to share some ideas on recipes? I'll show you a few easy ways that you could kind of change up your weekly routine right now, and reach out and be authentic, right? Know that what you have to offer right now is something that people really want, right? Like the idea that you are a resource to them, not just for products that are going to make cooking a little bit easier, but also recipes and other ways to make their lives easier in the kitchen. You offer that right now. So that launch list helps to identify potential hosts. You can reach out to them, start building a genuine interest in what you have to offer, and then finally securing a date. And the goal and the key to securing a date is to make sure your approach is personalized and genuine. Tell the host exactly why you're thinking about them and exactly why you think that this is that they would benefit from a Pampered Chef party. So you might even, like Jackie's going to share later, you might even reference a specific theme or recipe that they might like and highlight what's in it for them and their friends. Always remind people that hosting a party is fun and easy. I've been on a few different parties this month already, and they're fun, right? Like they're a nice distraction from everything else that's happening. And, you know, to help secure that date, always offer a few different dates that might work for them. I don't have a lot in my calendar right now because I'm not going out and doing a lot here in Illinois. But it's still nice to have a few different options for dates that could work for a party. So I also saw a few consultants sharing on social media and in their networks about how their schedules are a little bit more open this summer than they usually are, right? So not a lot of travel plans happening, not a lot of kids sports, but a lot more time in the kitchen. So one last thing I want to say is that not everyone will say yes. And I've already been seeing this in the chat, and you all have been so helpful sharing ideas. You will hear no. And Steve Drapolsky talks about this all the time. He does hear no quite a bit, but the key is not to take it personally, right? Sometimes it's not just who you know when you're building interest, but it's who they know. So ask, do you know anyone else who might want these ideas or these products or recipes? So before I go over to Jackie to share some other thoughts, or I'll spend a little bit more time talking through some things, I do want to thank Steve again for sharing a lot of his ideas. In fact, the next slide I'm going to show you about one of the things that he shared is a really successful tactic for Steve and his team. So the idea here is for getting first bookings to create interest on social media using a bingo card. So quickly, a lot of people say, like, where did you get this bingo card? How did you fill this out? You know, Steve always says, just go to Google and search bingo card. And believe it or not, there's a lot of them that you could be using. So we don't have this in marketing imagery, but you can easily find something like this that you can customize on Google. So think of it as this bingo card. If you have like a lot of contacts on social media, would be it's a fun way to introduce yourself, right? It feels more personal. And what you can say is you share this bingo card, you say, you know, I'm trying to fill this bingo card. Let me know if you fill any one of these spaces, right? And so what happens is anyone who's reaching out to you, utilizing this bingo card, they're actually telling you a little bit something about themselves, right? So if someone's reaching out to you and they are section B1, loves McDonald's frappe, that means that maybe they would be interested in coffee products, or that they really, you know, like to get their day going with the coffee. So that already tells you something about them, right? Same with G. If you look at the first one in G, had pizza delivered for dinner. We have so many products that can help make fresh homemade pizzas at home. So all of these small ideas or all of these small reach outs that you could fill a bingo card with help to just create interest and is a creative way to introduce you as a Pampered Chef consultant to your network. So thank you, Steve, for sharing his idea on this bingo card that has worked for him. It gets people talking about products in their kitchen and opens up the conversation so that people feel like they're sharing something about themselves and that you can genuinely talk with them about what they might be interested in from Pampered Chef. Okay, so like I asked before, if you have other ideas about what are some of the things that worked for you to get your first bookings, go ahead and share them in the chat. Would love to see some of the ideas that come through. Okay, next is getting bookings from bookings. And so one of the things we like to remind people is that the best place to get bookings, of course, is at parties, right? About 80% of the parties that our consultants are holding are usually coming from existing parties, right? So I want to spend a little bit of time about talking about how to do that, right? Like some of our tips for how to get a booking from a current show that you have, right? It might seem for some of you who have been with Pampered Chef for a little while that you're just naturally talking about the business and that bookings kind of happen as a result of that. And sometimes that's true, but it's always good for new consultants or those who might find that you're struggling right now to get bookings to remember some of these key tips on how to help secure bookings from an existing booking. Okay, the first thing is the most important person at your party, probably to help secure bookings, is actually your host. So partnering with your host is a really important part of this process, right? You always want to ask your host who you think they would want to host the next party, okay? And I think I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. A future party pick is a great tool for partnering with your host and securing bookings. And I think I'm going to talk about the future party pick in a little bit more detail on the next slide. But tuck that away as a good thing that you could talk about with your hosts or the guests, that this thing exists called a future party pick, which means if you have someone who books from your current host party, your host actually gets a discount at that next party. So I'll share that in more detail in just a second. The next thing you want to do, in addition to partnering with your host and saying, who do you think would be a good person to host, is also identifying rock star guests, okay? So rockstar guests kind of look different for different types of parties, but generally these are people who are regularly engaging, especially at the beginning of the party, right? As you're kicking things off. And I think making notes each day of who's engaging in the party so that you can then reach out to them and have more of a one-on-one conversation and a one-on-one message is an important part of this process, right? Because as you are moving through a party, it's important that you're building a relationship first and providing value and asking your guests if they've ever considered hosting a party and reminding them of the types of host rewards that they could get, and then see if they would be interested in doing it on their own, right? And so it is, again, important to build that relationship first and not just jumping in and asking for a party right off the bat. The next thing that you'll always want to do is reach out after the party, right? So specifically for guests who purchase on the party, you'll always want to send a note thanking them for their order. And that's a great time to talk about booking as well. You could ask if there was anything else on their list that they had their eyes on, but they didn't get at this party. You know, we see it sometimes where you can ask a guest to build a wish list. And on the wish list, they put those things that might feel a little bit out of reach today, but as a host, it might not feel as out of reach in the future. Another thing to remember is that often if you have guests building a wish list, it might be that later we have a host offer, a monthly host offer that is specific to something on their wish list. And it gives you a great reason to reach out to that person and see if they have interest in booking with you. So partnering with your hosts, finding rockstar guests and building these one-on-one conversations with the guests during the party is very important. And then finally, for any of those customers who did purchase on the party or had a lot of interest in the party and maybe would want to host on their own, always reach out to them afterwards. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to go into a little bit deeper on is partnering with your host and what this looks like. So Steve shared this the last time we did this webinar, and I thought it was really, a really good statement. He said, if you're not showing up and working for your host, then they're not going to work for you. The partnership is really important with your host, right? And so you could always do a host challenge. So I saw a couple of people ask about this in the chat while I was talking about the bingo card. Like, what does even like a host challenge look like? So you could do certain things to try to challenge people to get bookings, but really what you want to be doing is working directly with your host and having conversation to challenge your host to try to get 3 friends to book from their party. It's a great way to extend their host rewards. You can let them know that for each party booked, they get that future party pick, where at that future party, your host today can pick 1 item for 50% off at a future party, right? Some consultants, Steve included when we talked about this, even offer a little extra gift if that host reaches 3 bookings, like a free seasoning or a free rub or a season's best or something like that, just to sweeten it a little bit for the host. But that idea that the host actually benefits from future parties booked from this party is a really important thing to remember, and something that, you know, our leaders in the organization, Steve included, often do as part of their partnering with their hosts to help secure future bookings. Okay, so future party pick. How does the future party pick work? It is a great way to extend host rewards, right? That future party pick allows for 50% off at the next party, and having, yeah, here we go. And the reward is meant for hosts and their party guests, not for posts at any party. So having your past hosts in their guest parties usually also helps drive engagement, right? So let's say I'm John, and I had a party and Shelly booked for my party, and I'm John and I join the next party. You as the consultant can ask John, hey, what did you get from Pampered Chef? What are some of the products that you love? And you can even engage that person in the party a little bit more. So really it's a win-win for you. Plus this person kind of already knows how the parties work. And then that's a really good way to kind of build almost like a little camaraderie and almost a small group of people who are all engaging right from the start, because you have someone in the party who kind of knows how it works, right? So there's a couple ways that you can connect with guests during the party as well. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Jackie's going to share some other engagement tips about once you get into a party, how are you really engaging both with that host and the guest? So I'm going to save that for her to talk a little bit later, because she's got some really good tips there. All right, next I do want to spend a little bit of time on going deeper into the Rockstar guest piece, which is how often should you be communicating with guests? And probably one of the questions that came up was, how do you reach out to them one-on-one? How often are you talking with those guests? So there are a couple ways to connect with guests during the party and even before the party, right? So one of the things we often say is this word engagement. So if people are saying, okay, but what does engagement look like? Or raise your hand if anyone has like kind of put a post up in a party and you don't get a lot of response, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. That's something that we often hear. And Jackie and the team are often kind of talking with consultants to figure out what works for them from an engagement perspective. And usually what happens is the types of engagement posts that get the most sort of conversation going are ones that start a conversation, right? So it's not just kind of like making a statement, but asking a question and trying to start a conversation with the person as they're responding. So even if you have one person who's responding, it makes sense to reply back to them, right? Reply to that person as if they're a real person and you're chatting face to face. Ask questions to get to know them and even find some more commonalities. All it takes is really one comment to get that conversation going, right? Also, those rockstar guests tend to comment more frequently And then they tend to ask questions as well, right? And so anytime they end up asking you a question, go ahead and share your expertise, right? So that others in the party can see your responses. Every time you respond to a question, it creates the potential for more engagement from other party guests at the same time, right? So another thing that you want to be doing is private messaging, right? You want to take some of these messages a little bit more private as well when it makes sense, right? So you can transition to these one-on-one conversations. So in order to do this, and Danny is kind of the expert on the best ways to communicate one-on-one. So if you have questions for her, she can certainly answer them in Q&A. Because the Facebook algorithm is often changing, right? In terms of the best way to communicate with someone one-on-one. But a couple of the tips that we often share is that you can try to ask guests to private message you if they're interested in learning a little bit more, they'd like a recipe or an ebook. Asking them to private message helps build that conversation or brings that conversation into a one-on-one, right? And so there are a lot of different ways that you can kind of get them interested in a one-on-one conversation. You could play a game, as Steve had kind of shared this, which is Stump the Consultant. Ask them to message you what's in their pantry, and you'll suggest some sort of recipe for them to try. Jackie's going to share some other ideas on things you could do in terms of engagement to get that conversation going. And then you can move those conversations into a private message. All right, the last thing I wanted to share is another idea that came directly from Steve, is how to reach out after the party and what success looks like reaching out after a party. So one of the key things that Steve always does is he reaches out to say, thank you for your order, you're gonna love this product. And then he always tries to share recipes associated with that product, right? And as soon as somebody responds back that they might be interested in the recipe or ebook when he's sending via email, he's saying, that's great, would love to send that to you. But then he follows it right away with, hey, have you ever thought about hosting your own party, right? Would love to share more ideas and more products that could be helpful for you, okay? And so you don't have to wait, right, to ask for that booking. There's a real engagement there. There's someone who is saying, yes, I'm interested. I purchased on the party. I want you to send me emails. I'm open to this conversation. And so jump in right there and see if they might be interested in hosting a party themselves. There are lots of ideas, right, on ways that you can get bookings from existing parties. And I know many of you are probably finding some good successes in that, but we wanted to cover some of our high-level tips on some of the ways that you can help get bookings from bookings. And now I'm going to actually turn it over to Jackie, who's going to cover getting bookings outside of a party and some other ideas of some party themes that might work really well right now when you're reaching out to potential hosts.
Yeah, I think this is really important. I've seen a couple people come through on chat saying, my party, I just converted that party, that host, to be a new recruit on my team. And I gave them those bookings. So now what do I do? Like, how do I get more bookings outside of a party? And that's a good problem to have, I would have to say. And so I think one thing that we know is that there isn't just one way to get future bookings. And you really need to try a variety of different approaches so you can really build your calendar. And I saw this come up through chat too. Reach out to past customers. I think that's the first and foremost. So customer care messages are a great way for you to connect with customers and strike up a conversation about booking a party. So try one of these suggestions. Reach out to guests from a party, perhaps before COVID-19 happened, right? And just check in on them. Offer them a favorite recipe to try during the summer and ask if they need to stock up their kitchens. June is the best time to host a party since it is that double host rewards option. Now you can send this type of message. I know this was coming through too, like how do I send it? So you can text message them if you think that's the best way to reach them. You can create a customer connection email or even email as well. But I know so many of our consultants, we hear over and over again how effective text messaging has been, or even Facebook Messenger if you're connected with them on Facebook. Now you can also utilize our reports and you can run a report based on certain products. So let's say you want to know who has purchased the 10 and 12 inch cast iron skillets, right? Go ahead and run a report and then contact those guests and let them know about the new mini skillets launching June 1st. And share how you would love to help them earn them for free or for a discount. Now, second, finding new hosts. Look back at that launch list that Libby talked about earlier. Or, if it's been a while since you started the business, there's no reason why you can't just create a brainstorm list yourself and think about, who you haven't reached out to in a while and who could really benefit from those cooking tips. Just like Libby said, like she was texting with friends and it just casually happened. There may be friends that you haven't thought about in a while that could really use the services you provide today. And then it's really important to use social media. And it's important that you're posting consistently on social media. So whether it's to your personal page, Instagram, or in your VIP group. And you need to be sharing what you're cooking and feature your favorite products, right? And so your followers are gonna show interest, and those are your like warm leads to really connect with to get those future bookings. Okay, so I wanted to share an example from Steve. And I think that this is really another great way to help get those bookings going for the summer. So I'm gonna probably summarize what he wrote here. So his post was, "Hey everyone, I know so many of you are cooking from home and looking for ideas. Who would love a copy of our new, we can say, summer mini catalog and a few recipes to get you inspired? Comment me and I'll mail one out to you." As a reminder, we have that great summer mini catalog launching June 1st. So this is a great opportunity for you to use that as an example. Now, after you send that out, I think I saw someone say the fortune is in the follow-up, right? So Steve would say something like, "Hey, Jessica, so excited to share our new catalog with you, as well as those awesome recipes. Would you be interested in hosting an online party with me as well? It's super easy and a great way to share lots of recipes, tips, and tricks with your families who are cooking at home now more than ever. Not to mention, it's a fun way to gather everyone online. So I have this or this date as start dates available." Now, in this example, Steve then explains the host benefit for the month, so you would adjust it to what's relevant today, and make sure you play up that the double free product benefit. Now, at the end of the message, he ends with, "What do you think?" In past webinars, we've also shared that one follow-up may not be enough. And I know if you ever hear Stacy Itzel, she's really big on the 2 follow-up method. So it's okay to reach back one more time, but be conversational about it. Mention that life, even though people are at home more, is a little crazy. There's kids at home, lots of distractions, and you just wanted to follow up and make sure they didn't miss out on the opportunity for this month's host special. Your customers, your contacts are going to appreciate that extra little nudge, knowing that text messages or emails can be easily missed. So previously, Kylie, you can go ahead. I'll give her a little cue. Previously, we did mention the importance of posting on social media. And beyond sharing what you're cooking, make sure you're also sharing engagement posts. And engagement posts are designed to help you get the conversation going and help to open up the door for those conversations around bookings. So in this example, a consultant shared, "So who is stuck at home with the kiddos for the next 2 weeks? Drop a gift below that best describes how things will go down." Now, right now we're in a different situation. Many people are going to be at home all summer with their kids. So I think that could be a really interesting one to do about right now. Or you can try something like this. List 3 ingredients in your refrigerator or pantry, and I'll find a recipe for you. And I think that this is a great way for you to offer a service too. With grocery costs rising right now, you can provide the service of suggesting one of our budget-friendly meals. And then that's a way for you to build that connection and then go ahead and then lead in with if they've considered ever hosting a party themselves. All right, so in addition to promoting that June host special, it's also important that you share other party types that you offer so your customers know that you have something for everyone, right? So let's dive into the types of parties to book right now. So as we mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, fundraisers are still a relevant party to offer to your customers. And as we go into the summer months, food banks will even need more resources to support kids that are out of school. So Feeding America and Food Banks of Canada still need our support. And Hope Lodges in US continue to house those medical workers that cannot go home during this time. So how can you and your customers support these causes? You know, first, product sales. So we have 2 Roundup from the Heart products, the Cut and Seal and Scoop and Spread, that each one will contribute $1 to Feeding America and Food Bank Canada's national program. And that's to help families all around the country. Now, for the month of June, we will not have a product under the program for Hope Lodge COVID-19 Fund. But for every mix and chop sold through May 31st, so we have a couple days left, $1 will be donated. And Help With Cancer in Canada has the pink products that contribute $1 for every product sold through May 31st. Now, our customers also have the opportunity for Roundup contributions. And they can round up their order to the nearest dollar or more. And these contributions benefit the Feeding America or Food Banks Canada network, food banks closest to the host. So that's really a local way to support your food banks. And then again, as we shared before, our regular fundraiser donation is typically 10 to 15%, but because so many people are facing that food insecurity right now, we're continuing to increase our fundraiser donations through June 30th for Roundup from the Heart and July 31st for Hope Lodge. Now, along with that, we also double the donation for any parties booked directly from these parties. So I really encourage you, especially if you're brand new to Pampered Chef, if you have not had a chance to learn more about the fundraiser option that you can offer your host, we recommend that you take the DASH training, and that unlocks after either virtual or in-person training is complete within that party training section. And you can also find more information about these programs in the Explore section in Consultants Corner. Now, Steve also shared some words of how do you book a fundraiser party, right? So again, I'm going to kind of paraphrase these. These are words that he had recommended and shared. So, hey everyone, right now there are so many organizations out there that need help. And I'd love to start a charity chain going below. Let me know what charity is near and dear to you, to your heart. And that way we can bring awareness and ideas that you're looking to give. And then he goes on to just, talk about how Pampered Chef does support charities and would love to offer the opportunity to partner with that person for a party. Now, again, this is just the type of post that helps open the door. It's engagement, right? You get people commenting on there. And then once they've commented, again, it's your opportunity to connect with them individually. This would be best in private message. And again, thank them for sharing their favorite charity. And Steve says something like, I always like to be made more aware of what organizations are out there that need help. So if you're interested at all, I'd love to work with you on providing for your charity by hosting an online Pampered Chef fundraiser event. So we run them like a party, but Pampered Chef will donate 10 to 15% of your guest sales to the charity. And obviously Steve plays out how much fun it is and the opportunity that you'll be cooking at home, recipe inspiration, tips and tricks. And again, what do you think? So I hope that these type of words help get your mind going on how you can reach out and book that type of party. Now, during this time, it's important, as we shared earlier, to share recipe and product tips that are timely and relevant. So we're going to have some updated party themes and new featured collections that you can share right now to provide inspiration for summer cooking. So how many of you can raise a hand, have used our Cooking with Kids content and marketing imagery? All right, we got some hands going. So I wanted to let you guys know a sneak peek. We're actually going to be building more in that collection. And so by the end of this week, we're going to have more recipes and more recipe step posts for you to choose from in order to support cooking with kids. We know that kids are going to be home at this summer. Parents are going to be looking for them, maybe even to learn how to make their own lunch, right? Help with dinner. So these are great things for you to be sharing in your party, whether you're doing it as one day in your virtual party or if you end up doing a whole party around cooking with kids. So we'll be offering, like I said, more of those recipe ideas. Another one that's available now is Backyard Fun. Again, raise a hand. Who's checked out our Backyard Fun content? All right, we got some hands going up. Awesome. So with more people looking to cook at home this summer, this party content is perfect for sharing recipe and product inspiration around patio dining, sweet treats, and summer sips. So I know that maybe small gatherings may be the thing this summer. So there's some great tips for you to share there. And then another sneak peek, just to let you know, on June 1st, we're going to have a no oven cooking collection coming out. And again, this is really about the fact that during the summer, like, we know that people don't like to turn their ovens on. So what power tools and resources do we have so they can be keeping it cool in their kitchen this summer? So lots of great things for you to dive in, refresh your party content, and making sure that you're offering something relevant today.
Jackie, I see a lot of comments of people saying they like to mix and match, right? That's what's great about marketing imagery and how you build sort of a party together. It doesn't all have to be necessarily one thing, but that there's the ability to build one that seems right for your host, right?
Absolutely. And that's a great segue, Libby, because a couple other ones I don't want you to forget about. You know, for example, Pantry Kitchen, that's one that we launched right in March when things were a little bit challenging, and it's still relevant today. Like I mentioned before, customers are facing higher grocery costs, and I think the more that we can continue to teach them how to cook from their pantry is going to be such a valuable lesson for them. And so we have some great tasty recipes and products to help make those as well. And then last, I wanted to share another idea from Steve's team, and this was a Meals Made Easy party. So this isn't something that you're going to find in Consultants Corner, but what I love is just how consultants are so creative and finding different ways that they can market their party. Now, this one is formatted to do as a 1-hour Facebook party, and you can set that up as a group or event, whatever works for you. But what I love about this is it's just a simple approach. Select 5 meals that you are the most passionate about, and then feature those tools to help make it, right? And what's great is that you can feature those power tools that you are the most comfortable and confident featuring. And again, this is something that you could do as a multi-day party as well, to, again, gather people together for that recipe inspiration. All right, I just wanted to give a pause on that because I know last time people were like, oh, I wanted to take a peek at how they did that. Yeah, how fun, a 1-hour party. So most of the ideas we shared can be found in marketing imagery, which Libby you know, shared before, and this is all in the Plan a Party page. So look for the featured flags for a quick glance on what's great to feature right now. Now, when you are planning your party content for the summer, we recommend that you continue to keep an eye on those back orders and stop sells that are happening. And for the best guest experience, we recommend not featuring any products that are currently on stop sell. So just make sure to update your outlines and share the news with your team as well as a reminder. All right, so before we had tips from the top from Steve, so we're gonna have just a couple last tips to leave you with before we open it up for the Q&A. All right, so I know Steve is a huge believer of make your contacts every day. And so Steve's recommendation is 35 contacts a week. And as Libby said before, it's okay. You may hear a lot of no's, and that's totally fine. But the point is, if you're only reaching out to 5 people and you get all no's, you're not going to book your calendar. So reaching out to more people is going to help you get the yeses that you need to book your calendar. And as we shared before, you know, there's not just one way of getting bookings. We've talked about how to get bookings from using social media, from contacting past guests, using reports to target certain guests. And so again, we wanted to leave you with some lasting tips on how to really create great ideas for engagement posts, because that's something that you can do right now after you get off the call today. And so I think that there's 5 things that I like to think about when you're creating an engaging post. So first and foremost, think of how you can make the guest think. You want them to like stop and pause on your social media page when they're scrolling through. So try out different questions or games that get them thinking and chatting with each other. So during a party, this may be something like, what do you love the most about our host? Or what's your favorite weekday meal? You know, make your guests smile. Like share a GIF is like one of those that we know is like silly and fun. And it's a great way to get other people to share too. So I know a popular one in parties is like, what's the face you make when your kids ask, what's for dinner tonight? I'm sure many of you that have the same thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of eating the same foods over and over again. How can you be that problem solver, right? So ask a question that positions you as the expert that has the solution. For example, you may ask something like, what would you love to learn to cook this summer, right? We've seen that people love to learn how to bake bread this spring, so who knows what the summer hot thing is going to be. So based on those guest responses, offer suggestions for easy recipes or products that can help with their goal. Make sure you change it up, right? Did you know that photos get higher than average engagement and videos get the most engagement of all party posts? So when you're thinking about your party, making sure you're keeping things fresh by having lots of different options, and it's not just posts only. And then last but not least, make sure you're asking those genuine questions. When you share products, recipes, or food tips, keep them engaged by asking them a question, right? You want to make sure that you avoid doing things that are called or considered engagement bait, like vote for this, or like this, or share, or tag a friend. We want to make sure that in this summer and moving forward, you continue to practice the best practices on Facebook for those community standards. And so we want to make sure that you're using engagement in the best way possible. So I know we are coming close to time, so I'm going to hand it back over to Libby.
Thanks, Jackie. We've been sharing some resources throughout the webinar, both in chat as well as in the Q&A. So I wanted to thank the panelists again, Kylie, Danny, and of course, Jackie for joining. We'll wrap it up here with, I always like to end with this one activity, right? Get your brains thinking, get you thinking. So would love to either have you write down at your desk or on your couch or wherever you're joining us from, if you're sitting outside, maybe one of the things that you are thinking about doing immediately to try to get bookings this summer, or something you learned today that you had never thought of before. You can write it down, you can share it in the chat. And of course, if you have something you would love to learn more about, you could go ahead and throw that in the Q&A so our team can kind of see in future Teach Me webinars, what are those hot topics that you would like to know more about. Quick reminder, we talked a lot about our June offers, but you can go to Consultants Corner and see what some of the other offers are this summer when you look at promotions for your customers. Of course, a strong June leads to a strong July. So get those bookings in June with those double host rewards. Such a great offer this month. Are there any questions? We have 2 minutes left, Jackie. We always like to bring it right to the end, utilize as much time as we want. But Kylie or Danny, were there any questions that came into the Q&A that Jackie or I could answer quickly?
Yep, this is Danny. So I have a question from Dan. Is it better to send messages to potential hosts immediately after the party closes, or waiting for them to receive their orders?
I can take that. I see Jackie. I'm like, is she gonna unmute or not?
So, you know, I know Steve, they do it pretty quickly right after the party. And so one of the things that you can do is, again, thank them for coming to the party, and that you wanted to share a recipe based on one of the products that they purchased, or even give them a great tip about the product that maybe only you know as a consultant. And then you can ask something like, hey, was there more things that you were hoping to get? I'd love to be able to help you stock your kitchen this summer. So I think when the party is still fresh in their mind, it's best to reach out within a couple days of that party.
Great, thanks. And just a little PSA, we had quite a few questions about fundraisers, and we have really great resources available. You can go on Consultants Corner under the Explore section, and there's 2 pages there for Hope Lodge and for the Roundup from the Heart program. There's also a new dash task for fundraisers. And if you go into the STIR, there's a replay of fundraisers from a previous Teach Me. So if you want more information on fundraisers, quite a few resources for you there.
Yep, great, Danny. And we're at time. I want to thank everyone for joining. We always enjoy being able to spend time with so many of you who are out there talking with customers, bringing people into this business and truly enriching lives. Thank you for all that you're doing and for being a resource and a value to people right now during our current situation. We love the partnership with you. We hope that you continue to find these webinars useful. We will be sending a replay of this webinar afterwards. So check for that in your inboxes by email, and we will also be posting it to the STIR along with, like Danny said, all of our past Teach Me webinars. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you for jumping in to host today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.